March 15, 2023. When 14-year-old Maya Jenkins opened a worn library book about astronomy, a handwritten note fell out that made her blood run cold. To whoever finds this, I'll be gone by midnight. Don't look for me. The note was dated today, signed by tech billionaire Daniel Crawford, and hidden inside was an address just 3 miles away. Could one girl with no money, no car, and only 5 hours left actually find a stranger who'd already decided to die? The Boston Public Library closed at 9 p.m. on Wednesdays, which gave Maya exactly 45 minutes to finish her physics homework before the security guard started his rounds. She sat in her usual spot, third table from the back, where the fluorescent light flickered just enough to annoy other students but not enough to bother her. The astronomy section was her refuge, a place where nobody asked why she was still there after school, why she never went straight home, or why her backpack looked like it had survived a war. She pulled a thick hardcover from the shelf, Cosmos and Consciousness, Understanding the Universe Within. The book was older than she was, its spine cracked, pages yellowed at the edges. Perfect for her report on black holes. Maya flipped it open, and that's when the paper fell out. First, she thought it was a bookmark, but the handwriting was too deliberate, too careful. The ink was fresh, the paper expensive, the kind that didn't belong in a public library book. Her eyes scanned the first line, and her breath caught. To whoever finds this, I'll be gone by midnight. Don't look for me. Maya's hands trembled as she read further. My name is Daniel Crawford. If you recognize that name, you probably think I have everything. You'd be wrong. 3 months ago, I lost my son in a car accident. 2 months ago, my wife blamed me and left. 1 month ago, my company, the thing I built from nothing, voted me out. Today, I realized there's nothing left worth staying for. I've tried. God knows I've tried. Therapy, medication, work, travel, silence. Nothing fills the space where my boy used to be. His name was Oliver. He was 7. He loved dinosaurs and terrible jokes. The last thing he said to me was, "Don't forget to pick me up, Dad." I forgot. I was in a meeting that ran late. His mother picked him up instead. A drunk driver ran a red light on Beacon Street. Oliver died instantly. My wife hasn't spoken to me since the funeral. I'm writing this because I don't want to leave without saying something true. If you're reading this, you're probably young. Maybe you're in this library because it's warm or quiet, or because home isn't safe. I know that feeling now. Nowhere feels safe when you've lost everything. Don't waste your life chasing money. Don't sacrifice the people you love for success. I did both, and now I'm sitting in an empty penthouse with nothing but regret and sleeping pills. By the time you read this, it won't matter anymore. There's an address at the bottom of this note. That's where I'll be. Don't come looking. This isn't a cry for help. It's goodbye. Daniel Crawford, March 15th, 2023, 7:30 p.m. Below the signature was an address. 1847, Commonwealth Avenue, Unit 42. Maya's heart hammered against her ribs. She checked her phone. 8:17 p.m. If he wrote this at 7:30 and said he'd be gone by midnight, that gave her less than 4 hours. She read the note again, searching for something. A hint of doubt, a crack in his certainty. But the handwriting was steady, the words final. She should call someone. The police, a suicide hotline, a teacher. But what would she say? I found a note in a library book from a man I've never met? They'd ask questions she couldn't answer. They'd waste time verifying, investigating, and filling out forms. And by then, it would be too late. Maya folded the note carefully and slipped it into her jacket pocket. Her physics homework lay forgotten on the table. The security guard's footsteps echoed from the main hall. 10 minutes until closing. She grabbed her backpack and hurried toward the exit, her mind racing. She didn't know Daniel Crawford. She'd never heard of him, but she knew what it felt like to believe the world would be better off without you. She knew the weight of guilt, the exhaustion of pretending everything was fine. Last year, after her father left and her mother started drinking, Maya had spent 3 weeks planning how she'd disappear. She'd written notes too, though she never left them anywhere. She'd stood on the edge of the Cambridge Street Bridge at 2 a.m., staring at the black water below, wondering if anyone would even notice. What stopped her wasn't hope. It was a stranger, a homeless man who asked if she had $1 for coffee. She didn't, but he sat beside her anyway and told her about his daughter, who'd be about her age now if she were still alive. "She had your eyes," he'd said. "Sad, but stubborn. That's how I know you're still here tomorrow." Maya never saw him again, but she remembered. Now, standing outside the library in the cold March air, she pulled out her phone and typed the address into maps. Commonwealth Avenue, 3 miles west. The last bus stopped running at 9:30. She had $12 in her pocket and a MetroCard with one ride left. If she took the bus, she'd get there by 9:15. That left 2 hours and 45 minutes before midnight. Enough time to find him. Maybe enough time to stop him. She didn't know what she'd say when she got there. She didn't know if he'd even open the door. But the note burned against her chest like a living thing, and Maya had learned a long time ago that some decisions don't wait for permission. She pulled her hood up, adjusted her backpack, and started walking toward the bus stop. The city lights blurred through the mist, and somewhere in the distance, a siren wailed. The world kept moving, indifferent to the man planning to leave it. But Maya wasn't indifferent. Not anymore. She'd found his note. And whether Daniel Crawford wanted to be found or not, she was going to make sure he lived long enough to regret writing it. The bus was nearly empty. Just Maya, an elderly woman clutching grocery bags, and a man in a construction vest sleeping against the window. Maya sat near the back, the suicide note pressed between her palms like a prayer she didn't know how to finish. The bus lurched forward, and Boston rolled past in streaks of neon and shadow. She pulled out her phone and searched Daniel Crawford. The results loaded slowly, her cheap data plan struggling. When the page finally appeared, her stomach dropped. There he was, Daniel Crawford, 38, founder and former CEO of Helix Technologies, a company that develops software for hospitals. His Wikipedia page showed a man in a sharp suit, confident smile, hand raised in a wave at some tech conference. Net worth $2.3 billion. Philanthropist, innovator, father. She scrolled further. The articles from 3 months ago told the rest. Tech CEO's son dies in tragic accident. Daniel Crawford steps down amid personal crisis. Helix board votes to remove founder after months of absence. The most recent article was from 2 weeks ago. Billionaire recluse. Where is Daniel Crawford? It featured a grainy photo of him leaving a pharmacy. Unshaven, hollow-eyed, unrecognizable. Maya's chest tightened. This wasn't just some desperate stranger. This was a man the world had watched fall apart in real time. And now he was 3 miles away, counting down the hours. The bus jerked to a stop. Commonwealth Avenue, the driver called. Maya shoved her phone into her pocket and stepped into the cold. The street was lined with old brownstones and modern condos, their windows glowing warm against the night. She checked her phone. 9:14 p.m. 2 hours and 46 minutes. 1847, Commonwealth Avenue stood at the end of the block, a sleek glass building with a doorman station visible through the lobby windows. Maya's confidence faltered. She'd expected. What? A house? An office? Not this. Not a place where she'd have to explain herself to get inside. She walked slowly toward the entrance, rehearsing what she'd say. "I have a message for Mr. Crawford. It's urgent, personal. But what if they asked who she was? What if they called the police? What if Daniel had already told the front desk not to let anyone up?" The doorman looked up as she approached. A broad-shouldered man in his 50s with kind eyes and a nameplate that read Marcus. "Evening," he said. "Can I help you?" Maya's throat dried. "I need to see someone. Daniel Crawford. Unit 42. Marcus's expression shifted. Not suspicion, but sadness. "Mr. Crawford isn't accepting visitors." "I know," Maya said quickly. "But I have something for him. It's important. Life or death." "That's what the last 3 people said." Marcus sighed. "Reporters, mostly. One guy claimed to be his brother. Mr. Crawford made it very clear, no one gets through." Maya's heart sank. She pulled out the note, unfolding it carefully. "He left this in a library book. I found it an hour ago. It's dated today. Marcus took the note, his face darkening as he read. When he looked up, the sadness had deepened into something like dread. Jesus, he whispered. Does anyone else know about this? No, Maya said. Just me. And if we don't do something in the next 2 hours, it won't matter. Marcus stared at her for a long moment, then at the note. Finally, he folded it and handed it back. I could lose my job for this. He could lose his life, Maya said. Marcus nodded slowly. Unit 42. Penthouse level. The elevator code is 4-2-7-9. He pressed a key card into her hand. If anyone asks, you're his niece. And kid, be careful. I haven't seen him in 3 days. Last time he came through here, he looked like a ghost. Maya's hands shook as she took the key card. Thank you. Don't thank me yet, Marcus said quietly. Just bring him back. The elevator was all mirrors and soft lighting. Rising so smoothly Maya barely felt the movement. She watched her reflection multiply around her. A small girl in a faded jacket, too young, too black, too poor to belong in a place like this. She wondered what Daniel Crawford would see when he opened the door, if he even opened it at all. The elevator chimed. 42nd floor. The doors slid open onto a single hallway with one door at the end. No neighbors, no sounds, just silence, thick and waiting. Maya walked slowly, her sneakers soundless on the plush carpet. She raised her hand to knock, then hesitated. What was she supposed to say? Hi, I'm a random teenager who found your suicide note. Want to talk about it? She knocked. 3 sharp raps. Nothing. She knocked again, louder this time. Mr. Crawford? My name is Maya. I found your note. I know you said not to come, but I'm here anyway. Still nothing. She pressed her ear against the door. Silence. Or maybe, was that breathing? Movement. I'm not leaving, Maya called. I'll stand here all night if I have to. I'll call the police. I'll call the news. I'll make so much noise that every neighbor in this building will know your name by morning. A long pause. Then, from inside, a voice. Raw, broken, barely human. Go away. Relief and terror flooded through her in equal measure. He was alive. For now. I can't do that, Maya said. You left that note for someone to find. Well, I found it. And I'm not letting you do this. You don't know me. His voice was closer now, just on the other side of the door. You don't know anything about me. I know you lost your son, Maya said. I know his name was Oliver. I know he loved dinosaurs and terrible jokes. I know you blame yourself for not picking him up that day. Silence. I know what it feels like, Maya continued, her voice cracking. To think the world would be better off without you. To write notes you hope no one finds. To stand on a bridge at 2 a.m. and wonder if anyone would even notice you were gone. The lock clicked. The door opened a crack, and Maya saw him for the first time. Daniel Crawford looked nothing like his photos. His hair was wild, unwashed. His face was gaunt, shadowed by days of stubble. He wore a wrinkled t-shirt and sweatpants, and his eyes, God, his eyes were the worst part. Empty, hollow, already halfway gone. Who sent you? He asked. No one, Maya said. I'm just a kid who checks out library books. He stared at her, disbelief and something like anger flickering across his face. You shouldn't be here. Neither should you, Maya said. But here we are. For a long moment, they just looked at each other. A broken man and a stubborn girl, separated by a door and 1,000 unspoken things. Finally, Daniel stepped back. You have 5 minutes. Maya walked inside before he could change his mind. The penthouse was suffocating despite its size. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the Boston skyline, but the curtains were drawn, blocking out the city lights. Empty takeout containers littered the marble countertops. A bottle of whiskey sat open on the coffee table next to an orange prescription bottle. The air smelled stale, like a tomb sealed too long. Maya stood in the entryway, suddenly aware of how small she was in this vast, dying space. Daniel closed the door behind her and leaned against it, arms crossed. 5 minutes. The clock's ticking. She turned to face him. Up close, he looked even worse. Skin gray, hands trembling slightly, eyes red-rimmed from crying or not sleeping or both. This was a man who'd already made his decision. She could see it in the way he held himself, like someone waiting for permission to disappear. "Why'd you leave the note in a library book?" Maya asked. He blinked, thrown by the question. "What? You could have left it anywhere. Your apartment. Your office. Send an email. But you put it in a book about the universe. Why?" Daniel's jaw tightened. "Because Oliver loved space. He wanted to be an astronaut. I promised I'd take him to the planetarium." His voice cracked. "I never did." Maya nodded slowly. "So you left it somewhere he would have looked. Somewhere curious people go." "I left it so someone would know," Daniel said quietly. "So it wouldn't be like I just vanished. So someone would understand why." "I understand why," Maya said. "But I don't understand why tonight. Why not tomorrow? Why not next week?" "Because tomorrow I'll talk myself out of it again," he said, his voice rising. "Because next week I'll remember some stupid reason to keep breathing, and then I'll be right back here in a month, staring at these pills, having the same conversation with myself. I'm tired. I'm so goddamn tired of fighting." Maya set her backpack down slowly. "What if you didn't have to fight alone?" "I'm not your problem to solve," Daniel said. "You're what, 15? You shouldn't even be here." 14, Maya corrected. "And you're right. I shouldn't be here. I should be home doing homework. But my home isn't safe. My homework doesn't matter. And you're about to kill yourself, so here we are." Daniel stared at her, something flickering behind the emptiness. Surprise, maybe, or recognition. "You said you stood on a bridge," he said quietly. "What stopped you?" Maya hesitated. "A homeless man asked me for $1. I didn't have one. He told me about his daughter who died. Said I had her eyes." She looked down. "It wasn't some big moment. It was just someone seeing me, really seeing me, like I mattered enough to talk to." "And that was enough?" Daniel asked, skeptical. "No," Maya said. "But it was enough for that night. And then the next night. And the next. Eventually, the nights added up." Daniel moved to the window, pulling the curtain back slightly. The city glittered below them. Thousands of lights, thousands of lives. None of them his. "I've tried everything. Therapy, medication, support groups where everyone says the same empty bullshit about taking it one day at a time. You want to know the truth? It doesn't get better. You just get better at lying." "Then stop lying," Maya said. He turned sharply. "What?" "You're lying to yourself right now. You're saying nothing matters, that there's no point, that you're better off dead. But if that were true, you wouldn't have written that note. You wouldn't have hidden it where someone might find it. You wouldn't have answered the door." "I answered because you wouldn't leave." "No," Maya said firmly. "You answered because part of you wants to stay. Even if it's just a tiny part. Even if you can't feel it right now. It's there." Daniel's hands clenched into fists. "You don't know what you're talking about." "Then prove me wrong," Maya challenged. "Take those pills right now. Do it while I'm standing here. If you really want to die, if there's really nothing left, then do it." The silence stretched between them like a wire pulled taut. "That's what I thought," Maya said softly. Daniel's face crumpled. He sank onto the couch, head in his hands. "I can't do this anymore. I can't wake up every morning and pretend Oliver isn't gone. I can't look at his photos without wanting to die. I can't hear a kid laugh without hating myself. Everything reminds me. Everything hurts." Maya sat down on the opposite end of the couch, keeping distance but staying close. "What was his favorite joke?" Daniel looked up, confused. "What? You said he loved terrible jokes. What was his favorite?" A ghost of a smile crossed Daniel's face, painful and beautiful at once. "Why don't dinosaurs talk?" Maya waited. "Because they're all dead." Daniel laughed. A broken, horrible sound. He thought it was hilarious. He'd tell it to everyone. Waiters, cashiers, random people at the park. He'd laugh so hard he'd snort. He sounds like he was funny, Maya said. He was everything, Daniel whispered. And I wasn't there when it mattered. You're right, Maya said. Daniel's head snapped up, shocked. You weren't there. You made a choice, and it had consequences you'll never be able to fix. That's the truth. But you know what else is true? Oliver loved you anyway. He wanted you to pick him up because he wanted to see you. Not because you were perfect. Because you were his dad. Tears streamed down Daniel's face. That makes it worse. I know, Maya said. But dying doesn't make it better. It just passes the pain to everyone else. Your wife, your friends, Marcus downstairs who looks at your door every day wondering if you're okay. Me, the random girl who found your note and will spend the rest of her life wondering if she said the right thing. Daniel wiped his eyes roughly. Why do you even care? Because someone cared about me when I needed it, Maya said simply. And because I'm not ready to live in a world where we just let each other die. Daniel looked at her for a long moment. Then his eyes moved to his phone on the table. It was buzzing. Had been buzzing on and off since Maya arrived. He picked it up, staring at the screen. 17 missed calls from a number listed as Sarah. My wife, he said quietly. Ex-wife. I don't know. She keeps calling. I haven't answered in 2 months. Maybe you should, Maya said. She hates me. Maybe, Maya said. Or maybe she's scared she'll never get to tell you she doesn't. Daniel's thumb hovered over the call button. The phone buzzed again. Sarah. He looked at Maya, something desperate in his eyes. What if I answer and it makes everything worse? What if you don't? Maya said. And you never know? He pressed the button, put the phone to his ear. Sarah? His voice broke on her name. Maya couldn't hear the other side of the conversation, but she saw Daniel's face change. Shock, then anguish, then something that looked almost like hope. I'm here, he said. I'm still here. Whatever Sarah said next made him close his eyes. I'm sorry, he whispered. God, Sarah. I'm so sorry. Maya stood quietly and walked to the window, giving him privacy. Outside, the city breathed and moved, indifferent and eternal. She checked her phone. 10:47 p.m. 1 hour and 13 minutes until midnight. But Daniel Crawford was talking to his wife. And that meant he was still alive. Daniel was still on the phone when Maya heard footsteps in the hallway. Heavy, urgent footsteps, then pounding on the door. Mr. Crawford. Boston PD. Open the door. Maya's blood turned cold. Daniel looked up, phone still pressed to his ear, his face draining of what little color it had left. I have to go, he told Sarah quickly. The police are here. Daniel, wait. But he'd already hung up. The pounding intensified. We received a wellness check request. We need to see that you're okay. Daniel looked at Maya, panic flickering across his face. Did you call them? No, Maya said. I swear. Open the door or we're coming in. Daniel moved slowly, unlocking the door. 2 officers stood in the hallway, one older, one younger, both with hands near their belts. Behind them stood Marcus, the doorman, his face apologetic and terrified. I'm sorry, Mr. Crawford, Marcus said quickly. After the girl went up, I got worried. I called your emergency contact. She must have. Sarah called you, Daniel said to the officers, understanding Dawn. The older officer, badge reading Hernandez, nodded. Your wife said you've been unreachable for days. She was concerned you might harm yourself. We need to verify you're not in immediate danger. Daniel's jaw tightened. I'm fine. With respect, sir. That's not how this works. Hernandez's eyes moved past Daniel to Maya. Who's this? My niece, Daniel said automatically. Your niece, Hernandez repeated, skeptical. He looked at Maya. What's your name, sweetheart? Maya's mind raced. Maya Crawford. Is she visiting from out of town? Yes, Daniel said. She just got here tonight. The younger officer, Rodriguez, was looking around the apartment. The empty bottles, the prescription medication on the table, the drawn curtains. Mr. Crawford, we need to talk. Alone. Anything you say to me, you can say in front of her. Daniel said. Hernandez sighed. Your wife filed a report with specific concerns. She mentioned a conversation you had 3 weeks ago where you said, and I'm quoting, "I wish I'd died instead of him." She's worried you're planning to act on that. The air in the room shifted. Daniel's hands clenched. I was upset, he said quietly. People say things when they're grieving. They do, Hernandez agreed. But your wife also mentioned you've been giving away possessions. You transferred ownership of your car to your assistant last week. You've been settling debts, closing accounts. These are red flags, Mr. Crawford. I'm organizing my life, Daniel said, but his voice lacked conviction. Rodriguez picked up the prescription bottle from the table. This is Ambien. High dosage. How many of these have you taken tonight? None, Daniel said. How many are in here? Daniel didn't answer. Rodriguez opened the bottle, counting quickly. His face hardened. This was filled 4 days ago. 30 pills. There are 8 left. He looked at Daniel. Where are the other 22? I've been having trouble sleeping. The recommended dose is 1 per night, Rodriguez said. You're telling me you took 22 pills in 4 days? The silence was damning. Hernandez stepped forward. Mr. Crawford, I need to ask you directly. Are you planning to harm yourself tonight? Daniel looked at Maya. She could see the war in his eyes, the truth fighting against the shame, the exhaustion battling the tiny spark of hope she'd helped ignite. No, he said finally. I don't believe you, Hernandez said bluntly. And based on what we're seeing here, we have grounds to place you under a Section 12 hold. That means psychiatric evaluation at a hospital. Involuntarily, if necessary. You can't do that, Daniel said, his voice rising. We can, and we will, unless you voluntarily agree to evaluation and supervision. Daniel's breathing quickened. Maya could see him spiraling, the walls closing in. He'd gone from planning a quiet exit to being surrounded by police. His privacy invaded, his worst moment exposed. Mr. Crawford, Maya said softly. Everyone turned to look at her. You told Sarah you're still here, she continued. You answered the phone. That means something. Don't let them take that away. Hernandez frowned. Young lady, this is a police matter. She's right, Daniel interrupted. His voice was steadier now. I'll go. Voluntarily. Just give me a minute. Hernandez exchanged a glance with Rodriguez, then nodded. We'll wait outside. 2 minutes. When the door closed, Daniel sank onto the couch, head in his hands. I can't do this, he whispered. A psychiatric hold. Everyone will know. The board, the press, everyone who already thinks I've lost it. You have lost it, Maya said. And that's okay. You lost your son. You're allowed to fall apart. But you're not allowed to die. Not tonight. He looked up at her. This strange, stubborn girl who'd refused to let him go quietly into the dark. Why are you doing this? He asked. Because someone has to, Maya said simply. And I'm here. The hospital psych ward smelled like industrial cleaner and something Maya couldn't name. Desperation, maybe, or surrendered hope. She sat in the waiting room on a plastic chair that squeaked every time she moved. It was 2:47 a.m. She'd been there for nearly 4 hours. Daniel had been admitted at 11:30 p.m., 15 minutes after midnight, 15 minutes after his planned deadline. The irony wasn't lost on Maya. She'd saved him, but barely. The officers had escorted him out in handcuffs per protocol, though Hernandez had the decency to keep them loose and covered them with Daniel's jacket. Marcus had watched from the lobby, tears in his eyes. Maya should have gone home hours ago. The officers had offered her a ride and asked for her mother's number. She'd lied, said her mom was working a night shift, that she'd catch the bus. They'd believed her because adults always believed what made their jobs easier. Now she sat alone, exhausted, her phone at 3% battery. She'd texted her mother at midnight, staying at Keisha's. See you tomorrow. No response. There probably wouldn't be one. Maya Jenkins? She looked up. A woman in blue scrubs stood in the doorway. Late 40s, kind face. Name tag reading, Dr. Patricia Monroe. That's me, Maya said, standing. I'm Daniel Crawford's psychiatrist. He's been asking for you. Dr. Monroe studied her carefully. He says you saved his life tonight. Maya's throat tightened. Is he okay? He's stable. We've started him on a medication adjustment and he'll remain under observation for 72 hours minimum. After that, we'll reassess. Dr. Monroe paused. He told me everything. About the note, about you finding it, about what you said to him. That took tremendous courage. I just did what anyone would do, Maya said. No, Dr. Monroe said gently. You did what most people wouldn't. You showed up. She gestured down the hallway. He'd like to see you, if you're willing, just for a few minutes. Maya followed her through locked doors and fluorescent-lit corridors. They stopped at a room with a small window. Inside, Daniel sat on a narrow bed in hospital scrubs, looking smaller somehow, more human. The wildness in his eyes had dulled to exhaustion. Dr. Monroe opened the door. 10 minutes. I'll be right outside. Daniel looked up when Maya entered. You're still here. Told you I wasn't leaving, Maya said, sitting in the chair beside the bed. You should be home. Your mother must be worried. Maya looked down. My mom doesn't really worry anymore. Understanding flickered across Daniel's face. The bridge. Your father is leaving. That's why you understood. Yeah, Maya said quietly. When my dad left, my mom started drinking. Not all the time, just enough that I learned to stay out of the way. School, library, anywhere but home. I told myself it didn't matter, that I was fine alone. But I wasn't fine. I was drowning. What changed? Daniel asked. Nothing changed, Maya said. I just decided drowning was worse than asking for help. I started seeing the school counselor. Joined a youth group at the community center. Found people who saw me. She looked at him. You have people who see you, too. Sarah called the police. Marcus called Sarah. They're all trying to reach you. Daniel's eyes filled. I pushed everyone away. I thought I was protecting them from my pain. But I was just making them watch me disappear. You didn't disappear, Maya said. You're right here. He wiped his face roughly. The doctor says I have a long road ahead. Therapy, medication, probably months of this. And when I get out, everyone will know. The board, the press, everyone who already wrote me off will have proof I've lost it. You haven't lost anything you can't rebuild, Maya said. You lost your son. That's not something you get over. But maybe it's something you can learn to carry differently. Daniel nodded slowly. Dr. Monroe said something similar. She called it integrating grief. Learning to live with the loss instead of dying from it. Sounds hard, Maya said. Sounds impossible, Daniel corrected. Then softer. But maybe worth trying. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Daniel reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. The suicide note, worn now from being read and reread. The doctor asked if I wanted to keep this or destroy it. He said. I told her I wanted to give it to you. Maya stared. Why? Because you're the one who answered it, Daniel said. The note asked people not to look for me. You looked anyway. You found me and you didn't let go. That means something. Maya took the note, her hands trembling. There's something else, Daniel said. When I get out of here, I want to do something. Start a foundation, maybe, for kids who feel like you did. Like I did. Kids who need someone to see them before it's too late. That sounds good, Maya said. I want you to help me, Daniel continued. Not as some charity case. As a consultant. Someone who knows what it's like. Would you consider it? Maya's eyes widened. I'm 14. You're 14 and you saved a billionaire's life with nothing but stubbornness and honesty, Daniel said. I'd say you're qualified. A small smile crossed Maya's face. The first real one in hours. Okay, yeah. I'll help. Dr. Monroe appeared at the door. Time's up. I'm afraid. Maya stood. Daniel did too, extending his hand. She shook it, feeling the tremble in his grip. Fear and hope mixed together. Thank you, he said, for everything. Thank you for answering the door, Maya replied. As she walked back through the locked corridors, the note folded carefully in her pocket, Maya realized something. She'd gone to save Daniel Crawford tonight, but maybe, in some small way, he'd saved her too. 6 months later, Maya stood in front of the Boston Public Library, but this time she wasn't alone. The morning sun warmed the stone steps where she'd once sat doing homework, avoiding home. Now, beside her stood Daniel Crawford, clean-shaven, eyes clear, wearing a simple sweater and jeans. Behind them, a small crowd had gathered. Reporters, community leaders, and a handful of teenagers who'd been invited for a reason. "You ready?" Daniel asked quietly. Maya nodded, clutching the folder in her hands. Inside was the speech she'd written and rewritten a dozen times. Daniel stepped forward to the microphone. 6 months ago, I tried to end my life. I wrote a note, hid it in a library book, and waited for midnight. I'm standing here today because a 14-year-old girl refused to let me die. The crowd was silent, attentive. Maya saw Sarah in the front row, Daniel's ex-wife, though they'd been working through counseling together. She smiled at Maya, her eyes warm. "That girl taught me something I'd forgotten," Daniel continued. "That healing isn't something you do alone. It's something we do for each other, with each other. So today, I'm announcing the Oliver Crawford Foundation, named after my son, who loved terrible jokes and dreamed of touching the stars." He gestured to the library entrance, where a new banner hung, "Oliver's Place, a safe space for youth in crisis." "This isn't a clinic or a program," Daniel explained. "It's a place where kids can come when home isn't safe, when school is too much, when they need someone to see them. There are counselors, tutors, hot meals, and most importantly, people who care, people who won't look away." He turned to Maya. "I'd like to introduce our youth director, Maya Jenkins. She's the reason any of this exists." Maya stepped to the microphone, her heart pounding. She looked out at the crowd, then down at her notes. Then she folded them and set them aside. "I found Mr. Crawford's note on March 15th at 8:17 p.m., she began. "I almost didn't come. I almost threw the note away and went home. But something my counselor told me kept playing in my head. You don't have to fix everything, but you can show up for something." She paused, gathering herself. "I'm not going to stand here and say everything's perfect now. Mr. Crawford still has hard days. I still have hard days. My mom's still struggling. But we're here. We're trying. And now we want to help other people try, too." Maya looked at the teenagers in the crowd, kids with familiar eyes, carrying familiar weight. "If you're hurting, if you're scared, if you feel like nobody sees you, come here. We'll see you. We'll sit with you. We won't let you disappear." The crowd applauded. Daniel squeezed her shoulder gently. After the ceremony, as people filed inside to tour Oliver's Place, Sarah approached Maya. "Thank you," she said simply, "for giving me the chance to get him back." "He gave himself back," Maya said. "I just knocked on the door." Sarah smiled. "Sometimes that's all someone needs. The knock." Later, as the sun dipped lower, Maya found herself back in the astronomy section where it all began. Daniel joined her, running his finger along the spines of books. "You still come here?" he asked. "Every week," Maya said. "It feels different now, though. Less like hiding, more like remembering." Daniel pulled out the book, Cosmos and Consciousness, and opened it to where the note had been. Someone had placed a bookmark there now, with Oliver's photo and a quote. "Even the darkest night will end, and the sun will rise." "Victor Hugo," Daniel said softly. "Elena, Oliver's mother. She loved that quote." "Sarah," Maya corrected gently. They'd been working on him using her name without pain. "Sarah," he repeated and smiled. "She helped choose it." They stood together in the quiet library, surrounded by books about stars and space and infinity. Maya thought about that night, about the note, about the choice she'd made to show up when it would have been easier to walk away. "Do you ever wonder," Daniel asked, "what would have happened if you hadn't found it?" "Every day," Maya admitted. "But then I remember what you told me in the hospital, about integrating grief. Maybe I'm learning to integrate what-ifs too." Daniel nodded. "I've been sober 94 days. I talk to Sarah 3 times a week. I see Dr. Monroe twice a week. I run a foundation named after my son. He looked at her. None of that happens without you. None of it happens without you choosing to open the door, Maya countered. Fair point, he conceded. Then, quietly, Oliver would have liked you. You're stubborn like he was. Maya smiled. I'll take that as a compliment. As they walked out together, the library's lights flickered on against the growing dusk. Maya pulled out her phone and texted her mom. Coming home for dinner. Love you. 3 dots appeared. Then, love you too, baby. I made spaghetti. It wasn't perfect, but it was something. And sometimes something was enough. Daniel looked at the sky, where the first stars were beginning to appear. You know what Oliver would say right now? What? Dad? Why don't astronauts get hungry in space? Daniel paused, his smile bittersweet. Because they just had a big launch. Maya groaned. That's terrible. I know, Daniel said, laughing. He had 1,000,000 of them. They stood there as night fell. A billionaire who'd learned to live again and a girl who'd learned she was brave enough to save someone. 2 people who'd found each other in the darkest moment and chose light instead. Above them, the stars wheeled on, infinite and indifferent. But down here in this small corner of Boston, 2 lives had changed. And tomorrow, in Oliver's place, more would begin to heal. Because someone had shown up. Because someone had knocked. Because sometimes, the smallest act of courage echoes louder than any silence ever could.